As we begin to think about your career, your life as it was connected to Woody Guthrie, I want you to step back a little bit in time, because I want you to try and tell us, if you can, one of your earliest musical memories as a young kid growing up involved in music, and what was it that pushed you into a career in music?
Well, like most children, we had your music class in elementary school, and you do those songs like "Get Along Home, Cindy, Cindy," and of course, "This Land Is Your Land" was always in those songbooks. So that's when I started kind of learning about music, and then just through my mom, you know, she loved music. She loved especially country music, and so there I in the house.
And you grew up, of course, you're born and raised here in Oklahoma.
Yeah. And
explain, where was that and when was that, for the record?
I kind of was, you know, born actually in Texas, and then we moved to Oklahoma my junior year of high school, because my dad's job had shifted, and just by some lucky, he got a job right outside of Tulsa here at a little town called Claremore. It's famous for Will Rogers and his museums there, etc. But he, for some reason, said, "I think I'll move my family. You guys can live in Stillwater. I think it's a nice college town and it has more to offer." And so that actually was the impetus for, it was such a magical musical spot, you know, known as the birthplace of red dirt music. So there was just kindred spirits there, and being isolated on the prairie there, but being a big college, you know, it's actually the biggest college in Oklahoma. It's bigger than OU. You just had all these, like they had an international school of business, so there's a lot of international families lived there. Mesquite, which is outside of Dallas, a very, very, you know, conservative part of Dallas. It's where the rodeo is, so it's more of a cowboy town. And well, they'd call me out of class and put the ruler, I don't know if that ever happened in your, you know, and make sure your hair was, and so I thought, oh, now I'm going even further into, you know, but it turned out Stillwater was years ahead. They had open lunch. You know, we could drive our cars off campus. There's no hair code. I had hair down to here in high school. So it was just an odd juxtaposition at this progressive giant city of Dallas. But Stillwater just, it's where I met all my friends, the Red Dirt Rangers, the Bob Childers, the Tom Skinner, all the great Okie songwriters, and we would, you know, have picking parties and share albums and say, check this, I just got this Butch Hancock record, or, you know, from Texas or Townsville. And somebody would bring something from the East Coast, so it just had a big influence on me.
You know, you mentioned the Red Dirt movement, and you're mentioning people like Townes Van Zandt, Butch Hancock, but you grew up when rock and roll was dominant, and there were so many bands, Beatles on down, Dylan. Were you listening to that out in Oklahoma, and how important was that to your early musical development?
To everything, you know, AM radios, and then, you know, remember when FM first came in with all the, you know, that whole FM vibe.
Opened everything up, right?
Yeah, because then you'd hear really obscure songwriters, like I remember one, Spears. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I mean, he died a few years back, but you know, so just, like I say, it was strange that I think if my dad hadn't moved me out of Texas and I found Oklahoma, I'd probably be a different person. I might not even be a musician.
When did you get a guitar?
Well, my mom bought me that green stamp guitar that's in the case over there back in, right before probably when I was a freshman in high school, and I also had a Sears and Roebuck drum kit, and I started out.
You did.
But then
Where was the inspiration for being a drummer?
I don't know. I think it might have been from watching those monkeys.
Uh-huh.
It's always like the way that he'd have to turn his head. I don't know. Weird deal. So I did that a long time, up until probably my sophomore in high school. I quit and started playing.
Why the transition? Meet more girls?
Yeah, I guess
Drummers didn't meet
part of
girls. Drummers never met
Well,
girls.
just because I wanted to sing and
Yeah.
and play,
And back then,
and
drummers
have a
hardly,
message.
with the exception of Dave Clark, from
Right.
wasn't
They were
oh, yeah,
songwriters,
yeah.
So
So you get the guitar, and what's the aspiration and the inspiration behind it? Are you listening to Bob Dylan at this point? Are you
some
listening?
of that stuff, and of course James Taylor, Jimmy Mitchell, all the. It seems back in that era there was only about 8 singer-songwriters.
Yeah.
There's Cat Stevens, and so yeah, just listening to all those.
When you get the guitar, are you saying this is what I want to do in life? Because my question to you is, if you weren't who you are now, a professional performer, songwriter, singer, recording artist, what would you have done? Who would you have been?
I really don't know. I ask myself that a lot because I actually, growing up in Stillwater, I never went to college. Mm-hmm. Once I graduated high school, I worked kind of labor jobs, pipeline crews. Worked at a Swan Rubber company, making, just get off of work like a coal miner with all that carbon on my skin, just sweating out. So I started just kind of doing whatever I could do and trying to play music. And then my dad gave me a job part-time driving trucks for him. And so I ended up driving trucks, delivering parts to pipeline crews.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I just got to see saw Woody sing, just all that, the people, and it just helped me write songs, helped me be inspired, and like I say, all my Okie brothers just really, we all lifted each other up in song. And
growing up, Stillwater seemed like a little island in Oklahoma. This was some pretty radical times, of course. The country's going through some major changes. There's a lot of division, unlike now. And you have a situation where, you're down here, as you say, and you are trying to fit into a culture that you were a part of, the counterculture. Did you run into problems? This was a world of common laborers. Not a lot of people. Most people who were doing what you're doing first. You weren't.
That's true, and that's what I mean. It was like a little oasis, and it saved us from a lot of the But we certainly got harassed a lot if we got out of the city limits, basically. Stillwater was so progressive back in that era that at one time the drinking age of the state of Oklahoma was 21, and we had such a progressive hippie town council we got going with all the students that we changed the drinking age of Stillwater to 18. And it was kind of seemed like a good idea at the time. But all it made it into was like a mini Las Vegas, because all the towns in Oklahoma, all the kids
would come
20 miles, Cushing and stuff. It turned into this complete, drinking party music.
And you were responsible, at least partially.
And so it didn't last too long until the state kind of squashed it. But
good time while it lasted, right?
Just amazing. The town Stillwater was,
Do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
It's called Texas Roads.
And what was the inspiration behind it?
It was like 3 songs, something about real cliche, Texas roads, walking down that highway, Texas roads, gonna see things my way. you know, neon signs, places left behind, you know, but I probably have a copy of it somewhere.
You ever played? Is it
my
ever a part of
archives.
your repertoire?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Not that good?
But there are several songs from way back then.
Like what?
There's a song called Minstrel Boy that I still play. And matter of fact, Brad Piccolo just played it for me the other night. He worked up a surprise version. And I just recorded it, record as many songs as I can with this health issue I'm up against. So I even recorded Oklahoma Home by Bruce. Because I tune, and so I thought I'd sing it too. And
was Woody a main influence on you back then? You
yeah,
certainly
Woody,
knew him.
because you know, with Bob Childers, I've told this story many times. We'd go down to Okema back when some of the walls were standing of that London house. And you'd see all that graffiti from hobos and stuff, and so we'd go down there and stuff like that. And then even later on, Greg Johnson and all would go there a lot, and he ended up stealing all this stones, giving them the blue door. He'd give you a Woody rock from the foundation. So I got mine. I got a real big one. But so I got that. And even when I went up to Hibbing, Minnesota, the friend of mine that lived in Dylan's old house, so he gave me a window out of Bob Dylan's bedroom. So I've got like special touchstone.
You do.
Stuff like that.
You definitely do. That's great. So as your career progresses, clearly you become, like I said earlier, I know you through your Woody Guthrie connection. You become more and more connected to him, and more connected as an interpreter of his music, as well as someone who wrote in his vein. Did you see that coming, or was that something that just happened organically?
I think organically kind of happened, and I've just started working on these Woody songs Nora graciously gave me to co-write. And the first one I wrote was with Woody, his song Peace Town. I don't know if you ever seen those lyrics. And if we could figure out some way, maybe I could play it through the PA to start my set, play my newly recorded, we could debut it
I'm
here.
sure we can do that, right? I'd love to hear it.
And, that song just speaks to me so much, and I wrote it where it's kind of in a marching, like we're going to get there,
Nora has done this on more than one occasion, not just with you, but the whole Mermaid Ave, Billy Bragg and Wilco, where you get lyrics and then you put it together. I always thought if I were a songwriter, that would be very, very intimidating to me. Like me put together something for Woody. How did you handle that? I mean, here you had
well,
this.
I've kind of procrastinated a lot because she gave me those lyrics probably long before a lot of these other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Jonathan Brooks and the Klezmer. So for me, Woody's so close to my heart, it's harder to. So it's but once I started really getting into it, it's becoming easier, and I think Woody's kind of there. Through it, I really feel that, and I just owe Nora so much for even doing that for me. She's a connector, like
she said.
Dina was saying. I'm a connector. I think I learned some Nora, but she's connected so many beautiful people, and I think the person that connected me to Nora was Paul Metza, our old friend. Another guy kind of lost a little bit in the, but that guy's connected people for years. But it's, I just told her Slade Cleaves had retold the story the other night when we played of how this morning I was born again, he had put those music to it and he wanted to get it to Nora, and I kept doing it. I finally got it up there, and then she's probably told you the story how Harold threw it in the trash.
Talk about it for the record.
Yeah. So she took Slade or he took Slade's song. He said, I don't know what he said. I think North said something like, said, "Who's this young buck thinking he can just take Woody's songs and put music on them? This is," But she trash can said, "This is what we need. There might be something here." And from that, all that impetus to Mermaid Avenue to all these songs that are just, and Slade never would believe the story till she finally heard it. He thought I was trying to make him feel good. But
Do you remember the first time you met him, Nora?
Yes, I do.
What was it? Do you remember? Tell us.
It was he was part of the Folk Alliance maybe about 20 years ago. And a friend of mine had said, "You should hear him," and I went to your set. And it's engraved in like a moving picture in my memory. It's not a static photo, it's a moving picture. I can see you, the tone of your voice, the way you sang, the way you held your guitar. And for me, that was it. It's funny because you encompass this space in my life and my work with Woody, and it's a singular space. There's only room for one person, in this place that you hold, and it's you. There's not 10 people, there's not other people, it's just you. And that's the impression that you made on me the first time I heard you sing.
oh, thank you.
Your career basically, as I hear it through you as well, this is a person who on Woody, his music, interpreting Woody, but unlike a lot of the other bigger stars who were doing it and would come for the evening to do it and present, you were living it. You embodied more than just the songs. You embodied the message, if you will, of Woody Guthrie and a lot of what you've done. And I think first time I met you and the first time I actually heard your work, and I mentioned this today in an earlier interview, that the one to be the most authentic of it all, not just because you lived in Oklahoma, grew up in Oklahoma, but because you had become a student of Woody in a lot of ways.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, I listened to his lyrics, and then you start going down all the other things what he did, and just all the amazing paths he followed. Here's a man that had a show and fought the Ku Klux Klan in the swamps of Florida, and Merchant Marine, his fascination with Einstein and the theory. There's so much more to him than these Dust Bowl motif that he was put into. I don't think people realize all the other aspects of Woody, and it just fascinates, and it just keeps going and going. And
you, though, it's interesting, and I know there are a lot of fans of yours out there. You interpreted Woody, but as you developed as a songwriter, you might have used Woody as a springboard, but you weren't an imitator of him. You had gradually adopted your own style. There was a Jimmy LaFave style that went beyond Woody as you progressed and matured as a songwriter. Who were some of the other influences on your music besides Woody at this critical time?
Of course, Bob Dylan. And just, even like from Tulsa, J.J. Cale, I loved his music. Just all the, I don't know, just all the, even, Jackson Browne. I always loved Jackson Browne music, and Bruce. Bruce, of course, which, Bob's very connected with the Springsteen. I think Bob, through that, understands what I'm going through, because Bruce's manager, Barbara Carr, her daughter died of the same cancer. What a bleak, unpositive thing. You really can't beat this type of cancer. So it's, Bruce, and then of course, Joni Mitchell I mentioned. All those folks. but mainly a lot of the Okie songwriters and the Guy Clarks and the people in Texas, you know, Joe Ely, all the writers, and so yeah, they all just meant so much to me. But Oklahoma still is kind of my springboard of when I want to get inspiration. I would still come up here and play music with my Okie friends, and I think along the way I kept telling Nora, there's more to Oklahoma than you think, and I think over those years we knew each other. When Nora came here and she got it when she saw Tulsa and the spirit here and the energy, and I think she knew this is where my dad's stuff belonged. Maybe before it's like, oh, Oklahoma, they never really, you know, they didn't like my dad. They, you know, and Mary Jo knows that too. She knows all the. I was talking about how you know how Oklahoma felt about your dad for many, many years, but it's turned full circle, and they love Woody Guthrie here in Oklahoma now, and he's just been a blessing to bring his archives back here to Tulsa.
You're talking about my dad?
Yes.
Yes.
Woody. Yes.
My brother.
Your brother Woody, yeah. Just how we love it. How much we love it.
My hearing has been the very last thing to go.
Well,
All it does, I just want to kind of what did you want me to know?
nothing. I was just saying we love your brother Woody. That's all it was.
That's all.
That's your brother.
We're just saying we loved Woody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
But you know, now for the state song to be Oklahoma Hills.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of and you know it's true that a lot of reason Dylan agreed to bring his archives here because of this.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just all those connections about people putting people together, and it all started really with Nora, you know, lifting the veil off the archives. They were in that office in New York City for so many years, and all this beauty, all this art, all this family.
You've done many Woody Guthrie songs in your career. Which one is your favorite and one full to you personally?
Well, probably Oklahoma Hills
Yeah.
and some from here, but I also like, you know, of course everybody loves Deportee.
They do a great version too.
yeah. But I think my favorite now is this new one I got to write with in Peachtown. It just really speaks to me, but even all the musicians on the session said, "Wow, this in my head now. I can't get it out." And then my friend Jamie Harris came. She may be in here. She came and sang some harmonies, and she just heard Jane that sang on it were blown away. You know.
Yeah.
So Woody's song now is Peachtown.
Yeah. As an American musician and performing artist, you spent a lot of time on the road. You spent a lot of time playing coffee houses, clubs, concert halls, etc. That takes a special kind of person to be out there night after night, plying your trade, making contact, and the initial challenge of seeing an audience, meeting of the audience, and then hopefully going beyond those expectations. How did you do that? I mean, that's a lot of time to log on the road, countless gigs. You love it? Was this something that was in you?
I think the people keep you going, the people that, Butch Hancock, you know, at our level of, or my level of songwriting, these circuits we travel, the house concerts, the mini festivals, Butch Hancock always says, Jimmy, we sell records to discriminating listeners in small pockets of good taste.
Here.
And that's always like this, and it's so much more rewarding. being, Boy George for a year, and never being heard from again. It's,
Right.
in fact, our friend Paul Metza said that. He said, Jimmy, people like you are obscurely. Matter of fact, after I got to sing stage together at the Verizon Center in Dallas, doing Oklahoma Hills.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2 nights later, I had a gig at a kind of a biker bar down the hill country, and someone had been at that huge. He goes, "I don't get it, dude. Springsteen in," and we're like, he goes, you're. I go, well, my friend of mine said, musicians like me, we're kind of obscurely famous. We're kind of. And but he said the good thing about obscurity is it never goes out of style.
But you, sir, look, as we know here and is demonstrated in many of the places where I'd seen you, whether it was Cleveland, Ohio, you had and you still do, a very loyal following. There are people who have followed your career for many, many years, and I know they appreciate what you've given them. We talked about this earlier in the day where a song, one of your main responsibilities as an artist is to give it to your audience, and it's almost like a gift to them. So when you write songs, where is the inspiration coming from, and where do you write? On the road? I mean, where does this come from for you personally?
Yeah, mainly on the road I do write, and then I have a little pocket recorder. I'll hum a melody, or I'll just see certain words and I'll write them down.
Mm-hmm.
They all kind of, some of the songs are kind of composites, but they fit together in some weird, world of songwriting.
Are many of your original songs autobiographical?
Yeah, I think so, because I don't like to really make up phony stories, Like, a lot of my friends go to Nashville for their writing sessions, and they get with other writers, and they say, the subject's going to be, we need a song about a train, and let's pretend there's a girl and a guy. They're just making up people. I'd rather go ride on a train and really
Right. But
find a story.
Play devil's advocate on that. When you do that, you expose a lot of yourself, So I'm thinking one or two things, that you have the confidence, self-confidence, and the courage to do that, or as some songwriters have told me, it's a form of therapy. You actually write about yourself and you kind of work things through. Was that true for you?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all songwriters would tell you that. That's a pretty common thing, yeah. So, and I love songs so much that you might go to one of my shows, I only do 4 of mine and 10 of, because I've never had problems singing someone else's song, especially if it really spoke or a situation that was going on.
Take us through one of your songs. Pick any one that you want that you have written, and talk about its origins and how it actually came together. So, for the record, your creative process.
Yeah, I'm trying to think here. There's one song I wrote years ago called "When I See You Again." I was thinking about this feeling I would get when I saw this certain person, and I thought, what else gives me that feeling? So it was things that starts out trains late at night. I love trains late at night. And it said the traveling shoes. I love traveling. Dogs in the country I love. Moaning the blues, and then lost on the landscape, my thumb in the wind. That's the feeling I get when I see you again. And then it has a child's innocence, great big thunderclouds, Bob Dylan records and the carnival crowd, beautiful ladies, forgiveness of sin. This is the feeling I get when I see you again.
Very
Then it
nice.
has more verses, but just think, I think one line's thoughts way up high, moon hanging low, abandoned bus stations. I love abandoned bus stations. AM radio, beat generation highways that bend. It's the feeling I get when I see you again. Because those are things that just make me feel good.
Have you written about your sickness?
Not yet. I don't know if I will or not. But it's certainly, been hard
Yeah.
to wrap my head around. But at least, even like Woody, I know I'm going to die, so you have a chance to say, be honored by your friends instead of getting killed in some car wreck. Here this afternoon, I wouldn't even be able to say goodbye to my son. But yeah, I think it's hardest just on me and Jackson. But we're doing pretty good. Just getting through it.
And you're continuing to perform when you can.
Yeah, and I've played several gigs last week. Good, and with supportive friends. I started my show and I did a couple of songs, and when I felt my breath rest, I just said, hey, I'll let John Inman sing a song, or I'll call up Chris Bruhalis or somebody. And so that might be what goes on during my set tonight. I'm going to have a kind of a little set up so I can say I'll do two songs and somebody else will do a song. Let me get my strength and we'll do this. And then of course at the end we'll have a big rave up and sing along, and it'll just be so good. It's and in my mind, I think I hope I'll see Tulsa again. You really never.
Yeah.
No. Almost worked up that Neil Young song, My Last Trip to Tulsa, which is a cool song.
It is a cool song.
But Tulsa's a very special place. I think we've all are figuring that out.
And in this place, as you said more than once, a special place in a special town for you. I think I speak for everyone in here and lots more elsewhere. I admire your courage as to how you're handling this and the fact that you're continuing to push on and play on. It's very inspiring, Jimmy. It really is.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. And ask you one more question, and I'm going to open it up so friends and family of yours can ask you some questions that perhaps they always wanted to ask you, and get it on for the record. Because this here is a living testimony, and as you probably know, or if you don't, this is going to be part of the Woody Guthrie archives forever and ever, to have his story, certainly have his music here. Because in the end, as I said to Nora and my wife Cindy and to you, this guy, more than any other artist I've ever worked with in the realm of Woody Guthrie, personified and embodied the spirit and soul of Woody Guthrie, more than anyone I know. And I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting up on stage next to him. That opportunity to look at someone and say, okay, we need Jimmy LaFave to sing this song or to be on this show. It was the guy, you were always there for me, you were always there for Nora, you were always there for Woody. A lot of people can't say that. The one common denominator in all of anything that I've done pertaining to Woody, you seem to happen to be there, just next to me or backstage or someplace. So
I'm like Woody Allen, that movie Sailing,
Not quite like that, but but all kidding aside, you're part of a bigger story. You're part of not just Woody, but American music. And that whole Red Dirt thing that you are a vital part of, and the fact of Americana music and American roots music. There's a little chapter. There's a few paragraphs that are always going to Jimmy LaFave. And for that, we thank you.
Well, thank you,
We really
Bob.
do.
Thank
We really do. So I'm going to open this up. We got cameras running here. Speak loudly so we can get it on the record. But if you have a comment, question for Jimmy, now is the time to ask. Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank you, Jimmy, for the ribbon of highway and the skyway. To me,
Yeah, that was a beautiful program. We did that for 10 years or more.
yeah, in the CD, I've lost one, I bought it again, I've shared it, and it's just so enriching.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Explain the origins of that.
We just, Ellis Paul and I think Eliza and me we're going to do some kind of Woody tribute in Houston. And they said, well, how should we have this idea? We're going to have a narrator. So I kind of found Woody's words and said, I know the guy, Bob Childers. And by then he was pretty much like me. He couldn't really, he was just need to sit down and talk. And we did, and no one really could understand my concept till it just worked.
You just did it, right? Yeah.
We kind of honed it in every now and then and some tips and it traveled all over the country and really, all the performing arts centers and stuff would buy the program and we're lucky enough just to get it on tape and even the spontaneous moment at Newport where Pete Seeger just jumps on stage, leaves out the audience. No, you're leaving out the best verse.
Of course.
And then who was it from the Weavers showed up at one show and we had him up there. Just had so many great spontaneous moments over the 10 years. Jackson Browne, Steve Earle, all these people would sit in on. And it's I'm very proud of that show.
Yeah. In the back.
Where were the coolest spots in Stillwater?
The coolest spots in Clearwater,
Oh,
Stillwater.
There's Brixie's Pond where everybody goes skinny dipping out in the woods. That was a cool spot. But back when I lived there was a little Italian restaurant called Bill's Italian. That was kind of the center of Bohemia there, and then of course there was this little club we started called Eskimo Joe's, which now turned into more like the Hard Rock Cafe, but one little hippie bar, and Stillwater's that's where they invented the parking meter, so it's got some weird karma. And the game Pente was invented there, Pente. And
Question over here.
I'd just like to point out, you said you learned about Jimmy LaFave because of his connection to Woody Guthrie.
Yeah.
I learned and Woody Guthrie because I care about Jimmy LaFave.
Wow, there you go.
If I had not discovered Jimmy LaFave and did not care about Jimmy, I wouldn't care about Woody Guthrie.
Wow.
I'm so
Well
glad
said.
to have this
Well said.
here in our town.
thank you.
Mary Jo said she did too.
Can you talk about the farm in Stillwater, or is it what happens if the farm stays at the farm?
Well, they just did the celebration out there last week. Red Bull now sponsors a big gypsy cafe at the farm, and I just stumbled across a bunch of footage I have of Bob's old trailer and stuff out there before it burnt down, and I'm going to try to get it up online sometime. And a lot of footage of me and Bob up here in the Osage territory, Pawhuska, Me and Bob would love to hang out up there in the buffalo herd up here, and then in recent years it was, the settings for August Osage County, with the Meryl Streep and but, and the famous, my Cimarron Manifesto cover has that triangle building, but Pawhuska's kind of become a little town now. And you could feel the vibe there years ago. Me and Bob said, there's something cool here. It's going to happen here. And sure enough, there's a little prairie store and stuff there. But it's well worth going up and seeing the tall grass prairie.
Anybody else? Yes.
In conversations that you and I have had, or many of people in this room, will say an expression, and it's the spirit of Woody. Articulate what that is.
Wow.
The spirit of Woody.
I don't know, Jim. That's a pretty mind-boggling question. It encompasses so many. His spirit. So, but you know, one of the underlining lessons I've learned from Woody, and I think Jim Logston's brought this up before, is I think at the core what Woody was really against was, and a lot of his message to me was fighting against greed, you know, and that kind of permeates what I get out of Woody's life. And I don't know, you know, he's just so mystical in so many ways that and he was going near the end of his life into more of a mysticism. At least that's what I think. You know, I don't know. I'm seeing things every day.
Anybody else? We have any other questions? One over here? Yeah.
Jimmy, I just want to say that I want to thank you for, in some ways, off of a big stage or pedestal, and making sure that the message is very clear that music is for everybody, for all the people to play, and feel confident about your message and your own voice, and making that part of what you share with young musicians and with everybody.
Yeah, I think that's something I learned from Pete. I even used that quote when we were at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, when Nora graciously invited me to be part of that. And somehow me and Pete Seeger and Paul Metz ended up in the back of a and he said, you know, my father said, we do not judge the musicality of a nation by its virtuosos, like, you know, but by the ability of the common man to sing together and make music together. And I think Pete really embodied that, always making sure everybody sang together.
Yeah. Anybody else?
You told us the other day, the very first songs that you ever played, ever learned, were on that guitar that hangs just in the other room,
Yeah.
just around the corner. What were those songs?
Oh, like the Texas Road song earlier, and then I started just playing, you know, all your standard, you know, Fire and Rain and James Taylor and Clouds by Joni Mitchell, and you know, and your basic Bob Dylan and Woody songs, and so that's kind of what first started on that guitar.
As incredible as you are, covering the songs of others, songs, part of the canon, and then making them yours and then ours. Could you talk a little bit about treating songs from other people, and maybe cite some of those great covers that you love from others?
Wow, that's multi.
How do you make a song written by someone else yours?
Well, the easiest ones, like Dylan or Woody, I didn't even change a word. I feel like I could have written that. And then, so every now and then there'll be a song I really like by a contemporary artist, but the third verse I just leave it out and go back to, you know, because it's got to really, I got to feel it, or I don't want to sing it, you know. Sometimes it could even get down to somewhere there's a song where it's, this guy, third verse is beautiful, what he's talking about, and now I'm here smoking my cigarette, drinking my cup of coffee, and I think, well, I don't really smoke or drink coffee. I don't really want to sing that. I don't know that vibe. Get real picky with doing stuff like that, but there's, you know, people that cover. One of my favorite covers the last couple of years was Sarah Jarosz doing "Ring Them Bells" by Dylan. The most exquisite covers of a Dylan song just took my breath away.
What's your favorite of the covers that you do?
I kind of like You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome is one of my favorites to do by Dylan, but also Just Like a Woman and Love Minus Zero, No Limits. Always been a favorite. Yeah.
Anyone else? Yes.
What would you like to be known for? What would you like your legacy to be?
Well, I'd like it to be similar to, I never lost touch with the common people I love. There's stories like when Woody walked out of the Rainbow Room and all the things Woody said, I learned to be such a rebel from him. Like just the things that the integrity he had for certain, and then I realized all the flaws of a man like Woody too, but it makes it love him more, So I think it's just, I guess that old saying, don't get above your raisin, I kind of like just being where I'm at, obscurely famous or whatever you call it. But yeah, and I just, and that's the thing about dying. I've actually reached out to several friends and been able to make amends and say, we don't need to hold grudges for anymore. It's nice just to be at peace. And being able to say, look, I may have hurt you, never even known. You thought I blew you off or treated you badly or, skipped you in a song circle. And you thought I didn't like you. I just want to make people sure that I just have no agenda and I'm just in a very peaceful place in my life, making some music and my photography I've been getting into a lot. And, that's it. Just carry on,
I think I speak for everyone here, all of us here, to say thank you for enriching our lives with your music and who you are and what you stood for throughout your entire life. You've to a lot of people a lot more than you know, and the appreciation that we've had for your music and for sticking to what you believed in and the music and the manner by which you did it. As you just said, you are not famous with us. You're just plain famous.
Well, I feel a little bit like the Lou Gehrig, like I feel like the luckiest, man in the world.
Well, we appreciate everything, Jimmy, very much. Jimmy LaFave, everyone.